Welcome in. We're talking FSU football recruiting here on Warchant TV. I'm Ben Spicer, joined by our guy Michael Langston. He's
Mhm.
got all the latest news and breakdown from this past visit weekend for FSU. A disappointing loss to UNC, but some positive things being said among recruits that were on campus last weekend. Michael, I'll go ahead and pass the mic off to you. What can you tell us? What stood out, and tell us a little bit about a surprise visitor that was kind of unexpected a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I guess first off, having the commits there is always good. Four-star running back Byron Lewis, four-star quarterback Tramel Jones, having them there is really helpful, and it always reinforces kind of you know their interest level as far as believing in kind of what you're doing, but at the same time, um, obviously there's still with Tramel, you still have to recruit him. I hear Florida's pushing, and that's one certainly that we'll have to monitor. But I think overall, just having the commits there is a big deal. And then, as you alluded to, having having a surprise there, like four-star running back Usman Chromo, which I did not expect. I didn't see that coming. But just having him there, I think, was a big deal. And certainly, I think that's one. I know it's going to sound crazy, but I just one where I don't think it's over until he actually signs. There's a really strong bond with Yak and certainly Norvell, and I just think he really likes that kind of the scheme and stuff that they do with running backs, and that really stands out to him. Whether it's they get him involved in the passing game, and I think he really believes in what they do from a development standpoint with running backs. So that's one where he's going to come back for the Florida game, and more than likely, and I think that's one that I just don't think it's closed until he signs. I think as crazy as that sounds, but yeah, those are kind of some things going on. I think I wrote a story on Trammell, just kind of been hearing about Florida, and they're still pushing hard. So certainly, if this doesn't get like at least somewhat better, or at least under a comfort standpoint of near normal, that's one where I could see like why he's doing what he's doing. I mean, Florida's playing a young quarterback. They're 4-4. That's not phenomenal, but it's not what FSU is. So, when you see a young guy doing that, and then you compare that to the young guys at FSU, what they're doing, which seems like it feels like a struggle every week. I think, that resonates with guys, whether fans like it or not. That's just the truth of what they see and the perception of it. So, that's one I think they're going to still have to work for.
One that we were kind of monitoring and talked a lot about on our videos last week was UCF commit four-star wide receiver Javen Boggs. What did you
Yeah.
kind of hear from him, and do you think that's still a race that FSU is well in the mix with?
Yeah, I think that's one that I circled. He actually, I think they all got there like Friday night, but he was actually supposed to leave. Like the visit was really supposed to be over like Saturday, because usually it's 48 hours and they're there and they usually get there. But he was when he got there, so I think he was originally going to leave Saturday, and then he stayed into Sunday. I've heard everything really clicked very well, and I get the impression that people I talk to in the intel is that he sees an opportunity there of where he can go out there, make an impact, certainly be an impact in this offense. They don't have a go-to like a pure number one for sure yet, and he's a very productive guy, and I think he sees the opportunity there, and I think he really likes kind of what they do, the different ways of offense. I mean, we criticize the offense a lot, and it's certainly well earned, but at the same time, there's things that are drawn up pretty well as far as the way these guys are utilizing in the way they have an opportunity to make plays. It's just more of them making the plays. But I think he sees that, and so it's certainly very attractive. I think Tay Gelsey's another one where that's another one where they want a receiver. Florida wants a tight end. I think definitely FSU made a strong move. I think for Tay over the weekend. Originally, I thought it wasn't getting like the warm and fuzzies when I talked to him, but then I talked to a few more people that are around the visit, and they kind of told me like, yeah, this visit really resonated and certainly jumped out. I mean, you could hear it with different people that again when you don't have like top guys for sure, and you have a young receiver in there, they see that opportunity and they know these quarterbacks are very talented. So certainly they're going to be very attracted to FSU. And so I think that's why these were the two guys I mentioned, and I think these are the two guys that I think certainly if I was picking two that I would monitor, these two would be it from this weekend as far as official visits.
Also,
Excuse me.
two that we spotlighted. I know we kind of went in depth with Jeremiah McLeod. Toby Haystrip as well, four-star defensive
Mm.
ends, were on campus last weekend. McLeod, a Florida commit, as we said. So, what kind of stood out with them? I know that's a position of need now with some recent decommitments over the last couple months. The defensive line for FSU.
Yeah, they did a really good job with Toby. I've heard a lot of great feedback, both from people close to Toby and then people around the FSU circles of it that they felt like they made a solid, push as far as in there. Texas A&M, I think, was the favorite going into the visit, and I think FSU. And I've said this very clear because I don't want to misconstrue it where people get it mixed up. I do still have A&M, where I would lean towards A&M if I was like, hey, Mike, you got to make a pick today. That's what I picked. But I really think they made a nice surge as far as this recruitment. I think sees obviously what they do from their ends position. Certainly, they give them a lot of freedom as far as what they do as a pass rushing, and he's really big on. He loves playing against the run, and FSU used their defense ends really well as far as against the run. They just have to do a better job of production wise, but I think it's about the usage and the scheme of how they draw it up. I think really was attractive to him, and I think the personal side of how he connected with the staff really shocked him. Of that he felt a lot more comfortable, and I think than he thought he would coming into that visit. So I do think they made a nice solid boost from the visits. But I mean, no sugarcoating it. It's tough when you're hosting kids and you're 1-7 and now 1-8. It's really tough. So you have to find an angle of what works. And I think they do the staff has done a really good job when they get kids on campus. They do a really good job mixing them in with people that kind of fit their personality. And I think that's why you hear a lot of them when they visit talk about the people, that stand out. And it's not just the coaches, just the other people that are around. I think it resonates with a lot of these players because they do. I mean, that's part of the recruiting that people don't always get to see is how somebody's going to mesh with personalities, whether it's a player or even if it's just somebody that's a GA or something. It's just it has to connect with them where you don't put them around somebody that's kind of where you're the recruits like quiet, but they're really loud. I mean, you want to get somebody that connects, and they do a really good job with that. Hear that a lot as far as that. So I think with Toby, they did a really good job of that, and I think they certainly did everything you can do based on what FSU needs. There's no doubt they need edge guys. Certainly, he's one of the top guys they want. I think he spent a lot of time with the staff. That really connected well of just when they talk ball and they connected from a personal standpoint. Like he felt like he was personally wanted, not just hey, you're a 4-star defensive end. We want you. We need you, and we don't have any. But so I think they did a really good job, not coming across so desperate, but also understanding there's a need there that they certainly want to fill, and they feel like he can be one of the guys that can really help them. I think they went back to kind of what they've done with previous guys, and I think that's also helped over the weekend of boosting up them as far as what they've done with previous guys like Jared Verse and other guy, defensive ends, Jeremiah and stuff like that. So I think now those are portal guys, but still it still resonates with high school kids of feeling like this guy can get me where I want to go, and I think he felt that this weekend.
Were there any other names that were on campus? I know we had a couple other visitors, a couple other players that were committed elsewhere. Was there any motion maybe with them, or what are you kind of hearing as far as that goes?
I think Ramondo Johnson, the defensive end, committed to West Virginia. He was there. As far as I know, he was there. I did not get to talk to him. We're working on getting up with him. I know he's a guy that they've certainly stayed in communication with. I think another guy is wide receiver Dalen Upshaw, 3-star, that they've been very involved with throughout the whole process. I think he's one where he's committed to Miami, but I don't think that's like that might not be the last visit you see just to FSU. I think that's a place that we could see him return for the FSU Florida. As you know, they don't have a wide receiver commitment yet, so that's a guy that I think they've turned up, the heat and stuff for. So I think that's one that I continue to monitor. I have heard that he feels comfortable in Miami and he's still with that, but I do hear behind the scenes that FSU is a school that he's still quite intrigued and interested in.
All right. Love to hear it. That is
Sorry,
the
guys.
recap from this past weekend, the UNC game, the visitors on campus. We had a couple unexpected ones, and we'll see if anything comes to fruition with Usmani Chroma. But that's the latest on the last week visits, and we'll have more to come. 2 more home games coming up later on this month. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, we'll have visit lists and reports as well. From Michael Langston, I'm Ben Spicer. Thanks for tuning in on Warchant TV. We'll see you next time.